Okay, so this is my actual piece, stitched out and stitched together. I did my homework and it came out pretty good. I'm pretty happy with it, actually. We'll talk about that in a minute. But let's see what you guys are playing with. So this is what Ella sent. This doesn't do it justice, this picture here. So I'm going to show you in real life in the software. But this is butterflies on, like, I'm thinking it's delphinium, but I don't know anything about plants. Foxtail or something like that. But lots of good color, things like that. So there are things I want to talk about with this. And then here's Donna's pictures. All of them are quite lovely. The dog has some nice contrast here, so that one might work well. I love the cat coming out of this little basket. I think that could be really fun, but I'm worried about the detail on the basket. I think that's something that won't really translate into photo stitch. With the sailboat, I think that there's some issues here with these really skinny pieces, but I have some ideas, like if you were dead set on using a sailboat. The kitty would probably do well if we lightened the background, and also if we added some more color to this beachy scene. So Donna, I'm going to play with some of your photographs during today's class. And then Beth sent a kind of a poster, or this is a church banner, and she's been playing with this for some time. And each time it's more of like, okay, do we do it? Do we take this gradient fill and kind of break it down into applique, like you can see in this photo? Or with the photo stitch, it kind of has more of that ombre effect. And then this was just standard digitizing, I believe, or a combination of both there. I mean, I think all of them are quite lovely. I think it really just matters on what you want to use, what you think will work out the best for it. So let's go ahead and look at the software. So we'll start with Ella's. And what we're looking at here, I'm going to just hide the picture so that we can see. It looks like she's, oopsie daisies. You've cropped your pieces, right? I see them all there. It's about the right size. Looks pretty good. If we hide our stitches and show our picture, you can kind of see what the original picture was looking like. Ella, how did you feel about this?
Maybe if I have to embroider it, it looks nicer, because all the other pictures I did before, I always had a hard time. And then I started to thinking, you know what? I'm going to take 2 or 3 pieces out of a picture, which I want people to see really good, like those butterflies and maybe a little bit of the flowers. And then the last in the background, I just do it like I did before. Like you see some green and dark green. So it's not, the emphasis was on the butterfly.
Yes.
That's when I played around, so I think I could get them out pretty good.
Yeah, no, it looks really good.
Oh, okay. So I wasn't sure, because every time I see it, I'm not happy with it. But that's just me never
That's
being happy
because you're
with
an
something.
artist, I think, right?
Yeah, but I had one problem is, you see those the white spots on the butterflies down at the bottom. The software did some of them in the purple, like the purple underneath of the butterfly, and I could not change those into white, because every time when I clicked on them, down at the bottom, it clicked the purple on the outside too, so everything was white, or like the lighter lavender color I had.
I see.
How can I change this, or can I go in and change it somehow, or is it just not doable?
Let's see. It might be very hard to do.
Yeah.
I just changed one kind of looking, but it looks like I didn't really change the right thing. There's a couple things you could do. You could take like one of these white pieces that's already white, like a little ball,
Yeah.
and copy and paste it.
Oh, okay.
So
would
it
that not be
stitches
too
on
much
top.
when it's embroidered?
No,
No,
If you
okay,
see how these embroider, it's not that dense, believe it or not. So I think you could
okay,
probably cut and paste.
okay,
Um, Another thing that I was thinking of, since you were, like, you could actually, now this isn't your plan, this isn't what you were looking for, but you could almost take a monarch butterfly embroidery design and
okay,
instead of, and if you wanted that to be clear and the background to be impressionistic, you
yeah.
could embroider an actual embroidery design here,
Oh, okay, yeah,
or
that's good.
maybe make it 3D or something. I mean, like, obviously, we're straight up trying to do a tiling scene with this, but sometimes I can't stop looking at it in, you know, a more artistic kind of way, right?
Yeah, well, yeah, that would be nice. But how do you think it came out, just to be honest, with the background?
I think it looks good.
Oh, okay. I
I
didn't
mean, I can
expect that.
clearly see what it is. I think
Okay,
the color's good. Um, I like it. I mean, I think it will look great stitched up. One of the things I want to point out to you, if you haven't figured this out already, when you break apart this design, much like I did in last week, when you're selecting your design, don't even worry if you grab some of these little pieces here like this. When you make a
okay.
copy and paste it, you can remove them once you pasted it as your new item. And
I think I
it's,
did on my single parts. I did. I took them
yeah,
off.
yeah,
Okay.
no problem.
Yeah, and then I
Um,
had one more question. When you go into the color to assort the colors to it, when you
mhm.
go into that photo stitch, you cannot do more than 15 colors, can you?
You can. You mean to add more colors into here?
Yeah, because I tried when I started, I wanted to have more than 15 colors in it because there were some other colors still, but it just didn't let me go more than 15.
Let's see. I'm just bringing your picture over here so we can see what's happening. And so I'm just going to color photo stitch your
Yeah,
picture here. And I'm going to use my Isocord thread chart.
that's what I did too. The
Yep.
Isocode 40.
I'm willing to go shopping. And then I'm going to enter. Oops, I didn't mean to enter. Let's see. Let's undo. Let's try that again. I've got 15. So we want to do like 25.
I couldn't get
Oh,
it then.
yeah.
See,
Huh.
it just lets you do 15.
Interesting. I'm wondering if that, do you know what style this image was, this picture? Was it like a
Um,
ping or a JPEG or
I think a JPEG. I
I'm
download.
just
Okay, I went into the internet to look for something because everything I have is in videos. I don't have a lot of pictures, so I
okay.
just try to find something, but I downloaded it as a JPEG.
Okay. And I'm wondering if okay, so but you took it and you cropped it and then individually you made your tiles in color stitch.
I did it like you did last week.
Okay, okay.
I went after
I
your video.
I think there maybe if we go to high resolution and we go to more colors. Huh. I'm
So
wondering if
then,
there's something with it being a JPEG. That's my best guess.
so what would be better than to download?
I don't know. You could try a ping or saving it as a
Okay,
ping.
okay,
Um,
okay. I
I
just thought it was weird.
it is a little weird, but that's my best guess because I've had some I've been able to go up to higher, but let's just well, let's look at some other things. I'm going to open a new design here. And now let's have a look. At some Adonis. Let's see here. Oh, whoops. That's because I'm trying to insert embroidery. let's have a look at the boat for a second. And I'm going to reduce this just a little bit. And now is this a non-prepped picture, Donna? Like this is straight up off your phone or whatever?
Correct.
Okay. I'm going to go over to the embroidery or to the artwork canvas and insert that. Okay. Let's see here. And we're doing 12 by like 16. Okay. All right. So let's see if we go and play with this just a little bit. Oopsie daisies, that's not what I wanted. I hit the wrong thing. Arr. But what's funny is, do you see what I just hit, actually? I did quick trace, and it turns it into something that looks like watercolor, which might work kind of well for what we're working with. So now I'm going to do a, that's turned our photograph into little vector images in here. Let's have a look and see how that turns out on our other side here. Oh, it didn't save it going from that. I have to convert it to a bitmap in order to do that. Okay, now let's go over there. There we go. Let's have a look. And now let's try our, and I'm just going to crop this in like a random spot. I want to see just a little bit of this. This is just to do a test. Let's see if it lets me go up to 20 colors. Nope, it's 15 on this one as well. All right, so maybe our threshold is 15 colors. If I think, I might have said that. Did I say that? I sometimes get confused with cross stitch versus photo stitch. I think with photo stitch, you do have a maximum of 15 colors. If you want to do something more like this and have more variety, I think you'd have to try doing cross stitch instead, because you can go up to unlimited colors with cross stitch.
I think it's changed in version 9 because I'm sure that in version 8 I was able to use 25 colors.
I remember doing it a long time ago, reducing the colors to 15 so I could stitch it on my E16. So maybe they changed it to, I don't know. I'd have to do some research, some deep digging on that. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and pick this. I'm using Isacord, but let's just see what happens. Get rid of our picture and do an up close look. I don't know. I like that. I like that effect. So to recap what I did with this, is I took your picture of your boat and I took it like all of the details, and I right clicked and I did quick trace, and quick trace took all of those little bitmap images and found groups of the colors that were matched close enough and makes it look like a painting. And that might work for a lot of your photos. Let's try another one just for fun. Let's try this cat. Look at that cute thing. Where'd he go? Okay, there he is. He's adorable. Let's see what happens when we do quick trace. It takes a minute. I think a lot of my life has been spent watching things think on computer devices. I swear it's going to turn into something here in a second. There it is. You can see the difference there, right?
Yep.
Let's have a look. Now remember, we have to convert this back to a bitmap for this one. And now we go back to our embroidery canvas. There we go. All right, so I'm going to just take like a little section of this to crop just to test it like I did with the boat. Excuse me. Is everyone watching the same one as me? Crop background, pick it. Oh, I know what I'm doing wrong. Sorry, everybody. I've got the other picture back there. Dear me. Where'd that come from? I think what happens is when we do our trace, it leaves the original bitmap image. Okay. Let's take two. I want to get like a good selection of this. There we go. Now we're going to do color photo stitch. Oh, it still wants to shrink it a little. All right, so now we're at 15 colors using Isochord. Apply. Okay. I don't know. I think you could do almost any of these photos. So far, we're 2 for 2.
Looks great.
Now, can I point out something? I was going to do this later on in the lesson, but I think this lends itself nicely. Do you see how when I put the picture behind it, it looks much nicer than when it's not there? Did you know that you can actually change your background display to what you want the fabric to stitch out? So I might consider doing this cat on a brown background. I can go in and pick like a nice brown color. That's not brown, but bear with me, everyone. And say, okay. I can audition these colors, and then that's the fabric that I'm going to stitch it on. Let's try this maybe. Yeah, see how that looks so much richer than on the white? So this might be nicely suited to stitch on a brown fabric. Also, that cat had very blue eyes. You could go through here and try to change the eye color just a little bit so that they showed up a little bit more. So did what I do make sense to everyone?
Yeah.
Mhm.
So how would I select his eyes to change just his eyes?
You may not be able to do just the eyes, but in this case, I can select this. Hang on. I'm
Oh, that's
holding
his
down.
eye right there. Yeah.
Yes. So I would, there. I'm trying to find that spot, right? I don't see any blue on here. I'm going to just remove any unwanted colors there. I am going to add a color and change it to that color. Don't judge me. We're not giving him pink eye, but we are. And then I'm going to go to my design thread colors. And then I would just find a blue color from my isocord list. And let's just say tropical blue is what I want. I'd assign it to that pink color. Okay, apply and okay. And now there's a blue eye. The only issue might be that we need some blue over here as well. So I'm going to copy. I'm going to copy, paste, mirror. Oops, I did the wrong thing, didn't I? I'm going to copy, paste, and mirror. And try to make it look like it was meant to go there. And let's see what this looks like. I don't think that's bad looking. And you might say, but that's not how the machine processed it. That's okay. You can add other things. You can do other things to this. We're just using that photo stitch initial to kind of have a foundation, and we can tweak it as we see fit. Any questions? Okay, so I think you have a lot to play with, Donna. And, you know, if you just like embroidering for the rest of your life, you could do all of these pictures. And by the way, when I did mine, I have 8 tiles. Each one took about 45 minutes with an SDT module at Jackrabbit speed. And so 45 minutes stitch out. I did one every night for 8 nights.
Okay.
All right, let's look at Beth's contribution. So Beth, do you want to kind of explain this and then where your thought process is on this item?
Well, you can see the square in the background picture. That was the logo that I copied off of Facebook.
Okay.
And I originally thought I would put the design on a pulpit banner, and but I'd have to blow it up, and I have a 790 with a maxi hoop or a jumbo hoop.
Mm-hmm.
But my multi-hooping skills are not that great, so I've tried everything, and here are my efforts and the various stitch outs I have tried. The first one was of course applique. I've also tried instead of having the water drop on top, I've also put the water drop in within the color stitch or within the embroidery, and you couldn't read it.
Mm-hmm.
So that's when I put the embroidery on top, embroidered figure on top. In order to get it large enough with the color stitch, I first tried to just it came out great when I did it as one figure, and then I tried to cut it up in order to multi-hoop it. You can't use a knife on color stitching, so that idea was out. So I on my own thought of cutting the picture up first, and so I cut it horizontally in 4 sections. But instead of tiling it, which I had never done a project tiling before, I multi-hooped it back together, and you could still see that line across. And so once it stitched out, it looked wrong.
Okay.
And then the last one is just layers and layers of different kinds of embroidery with different stitches and different densities, and I just played with it and stitched it out 3 or 4 times, and usually it was so many layers and they didn't blend, and I just never got it to where I was happy with it.
Okay. Well, I had an idea, and I'm looking at the one in the center as the option.
That's the one I ultimately liked, but I found I absolutely loved it when I put it on turquoise fabric. It's when you stitch it out on white, it looks kind of icky.
Yeah. So let's look at something. I'm going to go back to the software, and I'm going to pick a new design, and I'm going to insert. You all have your own little folders here. I'm trying to find out which one is it. Is it the retouched? Oh, it's this. This is the logo.
That's the logo is the original picture.
Okay. And then this is the background bitmap.
The background bitmap was the one that I changed into the 12 by 16 before
Gotcha.
last week's class, and then the one that's retouched is the one I did after the class.
Okay. So what I'm thinking is, if we took something like this, and this is now 12 by 16, right? Would
Yes.
you want to make something bigger than 12 by 16?
Probably yes.
Okay.
But
Well,
if it's this has become a 2-year project.
Oh gosh.
I get so far and then I put it away for a while.
You know, I don't want to burst your bubble, but Jennifer Sampu, she's a designer, and she makes sky fabric that looks very similar to this. So you could probably just get that fabric and then just embroider the logo.
I wish I'd known that 2 years ago.
But nonetheless, let me just tell you something, a thought that I had for this. Okay. When we crop, did you know that you can crop with weird shapes? Just like we can design something. So I'm going to crop along, and left click makes a point, right click makes it round. And you said you have a 790?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, there's a crop. And then this is 12 by 16. Let's do a maxi hoop. Okay, I cropped it just a little weird. So we're gonna undo. Sorry about that. Let's go back and find our maxi hoop. Let's take our piece here and rotate it. Perfect. And now I'm going to crop my background. It's this first one that looks like a beehive. So I'm just going to click along the perimeter here. But what I'm trying to do with cropping this the way that I am, when we line it up, the line will just look more like a horizon line.
Okay.
Like that, right? And now let's photo stitch it. I'm not gonna let this bother me. Sorry, I'm having a hard time where to put you guys there. Okay, so I'm letting it just be this size. So now I'm gonna take these pieces, copy them, pick a new design, and paste it. Now I'm going to go back to this design, undo, undo, undo. Okay, so what I'd like to do is make a weird shape. This might not make sense to you, but I am going to, in a weird color, go along my edge here. I just need to emulate the shape that I have here. Okay. I'm going to save this as design 11. Now I'm going to copy this design and bring it over here. There we go. So now I'm going to take this and I'm going to crop it. Because this is going to emulate the bottom edge of what I made. Okay. I can eliminate yellow. Now I'm going to take this piece and we are going to color photo stitch it. That's fine with me. And I'm going to apply. Okay. And then I'm going to copy it and put it over here. Okay, now I know that that has a little bit of a line, but that almost looks like a mountain. I don't know. I'm just going to redesign their logo and they're going to have to deal with it.
But it's a better looking line than the white one that I have.
So now I'm going to bring in our friend Yellow again. And I'm going to undo, 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 undo. Okay. Now I'm going to trace this bottom piece by cropping it with the weird shape. Oops. If you make a note and you don't like it, backspace on the keyboard. And now we're going to delete the yellow, move this little guy over, make sure he fits in the hoop, and we're going to color photo stitch it. And now we're going to move them over here. And then another thing that's nice about this, Beth, is that if you don't hoop it perfectly, it doesn't look bad.
No,
You have
it looks
you have
great.
wiggle room, okay? So now I know that it shrunk it when we made this photo stitch. Oh, crap. I made a little bit of a mistake. We should have grouped these after we made them.
Mhm.
You see why?
Oh, I've done it. I know why.
Yeah, we should have grouped it.
You leave half of them in one place and half of them go the other way.
Right, but I think I can kind of fix it here. I mean, I'm not going to put this in church. Nobody wants my version here. But the point is that you get your pieces sectioned out like this. Then you're going to group them so that you can move them around and play with them and stuff. Okay. Then what I want to do is move these little dudes over, put this back in the hoop, and I got to turn that off. That's going to drive me up a wall. Okay. So the idea is that we're going to take this and try to make this as large as we can. Oof. The problem is this is big. We might see how this says 161,000 stitches down there. You might have to make skinnier strips. And it's not just 3 hoopings, but bear with me here. This is how I would do it. So this is now 12 inches, 12 and a half inches. If we cut this up into skinnier strips, we could maybe get it a little bit wider. But then what you're going to do with these other bits is you're going to make them the same height. So this is 12.42 in height. So that's how we can do this. And then this one would also be 12.42. And then you'll save them as different files. But you're going to probably have to do about 6 of them because it's not good to stitch more than this. But let's see. Let's go over here. I don't need that yellow piece anymore. So let's take this piece and put it there. Let's open a new file and take this piece. Okay, so never mind. 53,000 is embroiderable. This still fits, and crap. It doesn't fit well in the hoop. Anyway, you might have to chop it differently, but I think cropping it like that, cropping the picture actually works a little bit better. And so these aren't going to be that long to stitch out. I think you should be okay. So that's how I would deal with that. Then you have the best of both worlds and you don't have some weird line.
That's great. And the line looks like the sky instead of looking like you're taking your eye straight across.
Yeah, or like I cut it exactly right here, right? All right, so I showed you this already, but if you can change your background of what you're stitching on so that you can kind of audition a color. And for mine, I was doing those like very aqua and blue colors. So I grabbed, and it just happened to be Kismet. I had some fabric I wasn't too, in love with. It wasn't a great quality solid, but it was the right color. And I put fusible woven on the back and embroidered my pieces. And I mean, this thing looks really impressive in person. So, but use this as a method to kind of explore what color yours might stitch better on. Any questions about that? Okay, so I was talking about creative cropping, and there is an alternative to 4x6 grids. You could do all kinds of stuff with this if you wanted to. And I decided I was going to play with this bunny design I downloaded because, Easter's coming and whatever. So if we go over into my software, I'm going to pull up my little bunny. He's right here. And what I did with this is the original picture. The original picture is this little yellow bunny. And then we can make them whatever color we want. I'm just going to keep them at this size. But I kind of like the color blocking on this and thought, oh, I'd like to make half of it another color. And then I'll stitch them both out together at the same time. Or if this were super big and we wanted to make this giant bunny, we could adjust this so it would stitch out in our jumbo hoop or our maxi hoop, for instance. So what I did is I said, okay, I like this one, but I want to make a copy of this so I can make another color version. So I went up here to, no, I didn't. I went to right click, edit bitmap. And then I did adjust, hue, saturation, and lightness. And then I could get lavender, or if I move this hue somewhere else, I can get like a teal. And then how teal do I want it to be? Maybe I want a different version. So I just kind of wiggled this around. We can even change it like this. So I don't know about you guys. I think I'm okay with a purple bunny. I think he's kind of cute. Of course, I pick these things that take forever to process. Okay, so now I'm going to say okay to that one and close and agree to the changes. So now I have two bunnies the same size. So I'm going to go over to my embroidery screen now. Okay. So now I want to kind of zoom to fit. So I decided to make things easy, I was going to take my bunny and crop it with this weird shape from corner to corner, corner, enter. Then I was going to select the other bunny and go, let's get rid of my hoop so I can see what I'm doing. Corner to corner, and then up here and enter. So that theoretically, when I make them and they play nice to each other, they look like that. Ooh, I got to make sure I line it up right though. Maybe I didn't crop it just right. I don't know. That looks okay. I'll take it. Then I just have to color photo stitch each of them separately. Ah, okay. Sometimes this happens. Sometimes when you play too much with the photo stitch, it won't register it. So you just have to keep trying with it. I had that same problem with my other one. But finally I did a pink and it registered. But I thought that was kind of a fun idea. If you didn't feel like doing them with just a grid. Does anybody have any questions about that?
Looks like fun.
I mean, I could keep myself entertained with this for a long time, actually. I mean, I'm ready to just photo stitch things all day. I'm totally fine with that.
I have a question.
Sure.
So if you embroider this now, this is just going to be one embroidery picture. It's not going to be like a tiling scene, or how does this work?
Well, in this application, yes, but we
Okay.
could apply this like we did Beth's watery sky kind of scene.
Mm.
Could do this as well. You know, you could
Okay.
work a way to fit that triangle in. So let's say you wanted to do this super large, right? Let me
Mhm.
pull my jumbo hoop in here. I could take, trying to see where the split, here we go. I could take this part of the design and group it, and then the last part of this design and group it. So I could decide I'm gonna make this thing like that big, or maybe a little bit smaller. So like, this is about 10 inches by 15, so it doesn't quite fit in the hoop, right? So I could decide that, okay, this part, yeah. This one, I might decide I need to do 4 colors and do an X down the middle. I can't fit it in the hoop quite right with the size that I made here. But the idea is that, let's say I took my pictures back here. Right? And then I could decide, I could take my picture and I could crop it again. And this time, I could crop it like wherever the middle might be there and down. And then I'd have one at the top, so I could crop it that way, which would essentially allow me to make a much bigger design. It's just other ways that you can split something so that you don't have a grid. So let's look at stitching this out. So if you look at these photos, you can see the first photo here is, that's the color I used, was this royal blue. and I just stitched them out, and I kind of would sew them together. And then I'd wait for another one to stitch out and then sew that one to something else. But if we look here, we get a good idea of what these guys look like on the back side. And when I'm stitching it, I am catching just a little bit of the stitching, just so I have a nice seam where there's no base of my fabric sewing. And when I trimmed them down, I did them to like 1/4 of an inch.
When you're stitching the actual squares out, what stabilizer do you use and how many layers?
I had 2 layers of medium tearaway stabilizer, and I fused fusible woven onto the back of my blue fabric.
Mhm.
And hang on a second, I forgot to email myself a picture. I'll show you. I took all of these pictures as I made this, but then I kind of forgot to put them in the folder as I was doing it. So, because I made this over such a long period of time. Because I have a special way that I did it to try to save fabric and interfacing. Okay, I think it came in. Hmm. Okay, so you can see here that I took my stabilizer or my fusible woven and I cut this about, I think this is about 14 inches strip, and I pressed the SF101 or the fusible woven on the backside of my blue. So it was this long strip. Then I had 2 layers of my medium weight cutaway hooped up under here. So then I would stitch out a piece and see the bulk that's just hanging out there. Once a block was done, I'd unhoop it and just move it down so I don't rip any stabilizer out until I've put a piece of tile on this entire strip of fabric. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
Yeah.
And that takes a little bit more prep if you're trying to iron the pieces on the fabric like that, but it saves a little bit of fabric. It lets you get them closer together. And I needed just over a strip with the fabric to make this. But if you were to have cut pieces of fabric that fit in the hoop, 8 of them, you would be using twice the fabric. So it's a little bit a way that you can save some fabric. And 2 layers of medium tearaway was fine. You probably could use 1 layer of heavyweight tearaway, but definitely tearaway, not cutaway. Tearaway, you need it out of the seams, or else you have to get a hammer to pound your seam allowances open. So here's my piece. And then you can see the back, the seams. They're a little wiggly, but they're thick. If we look at that,
So I'm going to ask a beginner's
yeah,
question, which is, how did you actually sew them? So,
1/4 of an inch seam,
uh-huh.
straight stitch with a thread that matched my background fabric. Or, sorry, I used a charcoal gray cotton thread.
So you just
And the
place
one,
them
I put
together?
them, yep, I put them together like this,
Mm-hmm.
and then I stitched.
Oh, okay.
And when I stitched, you can't even see the line. It's a dark line, right? I took like a 16th or a 32nd of what was stitched in there to go into the seam allowance. And then I opened up the seam, used my steam iron, and then there's a tool. This expert point and press tool. I take that ball and rub it down the seam, and it is better than my fingernail. It like really flattens it out, but you have to do that on a hard surface. So I have like one of those little clappers that look like an anvil, and then I rub that down the seam when I get a stubborn area. This was actually pretty good. It went together quite well with just my steam iron. But, and then, well, what do you put this into at the end, you know? I'm going to frame mine. I'm not going to try to back it or make it a quilt or anything. Although they do feel very tapestry-like. But I'm just going to, I have a matte frame. I got a good deal at Michael's. And then I'm like, oh crap, it's not 16 by 18 opening. There's like the cutout is for 3 pictures. So I'm going to try to figure out a way where I can just, you know, cut those apart, and I don't know, or maybe I just buy another frame, but I plan on framing mine. All right. Are you guys ready to stitch something out? Do you think you've got something? I think you do. Do you go by Ella or Michaela? I can't hear you.
Sorry, it doesn't matter. Here in America, they say everything from Michelle to whatever.
I
'Cause they
just,
have a-
but I thought something came in from you and it said Ella, and then I
Yeah,
feel bad because I am calling
that's
you
okay.
Ella. Okay.
No, it's okay. It's fine. It's the short version. It's better anyhow.
Okay. All right. Are we ready to stitch
Yeah,
something out?
yeah. I was wondering when you do those squares, would that be better to make a square line to embroider so you know where to stitch together, or you don't have to do any of this like
You
for the
know,
seam allowance?
I don't. I think you're fine just stitching with a little fringe on the edge there, because
Okay.
sometimes when you stitch out a stitching line, if you don't go just a needle into it, you see that stitching line.
Yeah. That's the problem I have with all the other ones I bought from OSD. Every time when I put them together, it just never works. I have a really hard time with them. I don't know why.
I stretch a little bit sometimes. I'll pull because it puckers a little bit as it stitches. So I feel like when I match up my pieces, I pull a little bit.
Okay.
Also, if you are going to do that stitching line, use water soluble thread.
Okay. No, I'm not going to
Because-
use it. If you say it's okay this way,
Yeah,
I just
well,
know.
the reason why is because like we do this embroidery sampler here at the store, like it's a monthly sew along. And a lot of people doing it get frustrated because on the OESD files, this placement line,
Yeah.
then you stitch and flip, and the placement line shows in your seam. And
Yeah.
so we have a little session where we move that placement line to go in the seam allowance. I have the same problem with some of their tiling seams. So I just sometimes will skip that stitch because I know, okay, I'm going to cut this about 1/4 of an inch or whatever.
because I
So,
had this too. I thought, oh my God, am I too stupid or what?
no, sometimes
I
it's
gave
hard.
it to my mom. I
I
gave
think
up on it.
I think it's the puckering.
Yeah.
That might be the case. And sometimes just thick stuff is really hard to be accurate with.
And a lot of time when I sew it together and I open it up, I can still see, even though when I go in a little bit, I still see a little bit of the fabric. It's not all the way together, you know, where the picture goes. So
Yes,
you see the fabric still a little
that's
bit coming
when
through.
okay, there's a trick where you can take a straight pen and
Yeah.
you go through the first layer, you know, like your piece that you know you're going to be stitching on and catching
Yeah.
into it. Then you take that pin and you pin it to the next one exactly where you want that needle to penetrate into your second piece. And then you hold that pin straight. Then you come in and you pin it together with that pin holding it straight. Sometimes it's literally the moving it business. Once you pin it, shifts it over just a little bit.
Okay. I'll try this.
But I just
Thanks.
take, you could also, if you could also do your 1/4 of an inch and then move your needle position. I think the 1/4 of an inch foot allows you just a little hair to move it from center, move your needle and make it just a wee bit fatter. So
Okay.
it's really not a 1/4 of an inch, it's a 1/4 of an inch plus a 1/16 of an inch or something.
Okay. Try this. Thanks.
And some people have had better success actually doing 1/2 an inch seam allowance, because then it's easier to grab the pieces as you're sewing it to,
Okay.
you know, tug at them a little bit.
Yeah, where has it gone wrong and how did you fix it?
Mine, I never make mistakes, Michelle. I did make a mistake on this. I did. So down here on the bottom where the water is, look how nice it looks. But the first one I stitched out was this one over here. And I just literally got lazy, thought I was pulling the right color, and I stitched the wrong color. And I'm like, crap, I am not redoing this. So I stitched over it with the right color, but then every time that other color popped up, I stitched the wrong color first, then backed up and stitched with the right color, because I knew that that would look the same. And I think it actually made it look more vibrant and brilliant.
That looks really good.
Thanks.
It does.
I have another one I was working on that was an Irish cottage. I think I might stitch that one so I can do a video so you can see, like, when I'm sitting there, how I'm sewing it together. I did rip one out, Ella, where I had not caught the other side and some of the blue was still showing. So I just ripped it. It's really easy to rip these apart because the stuff is so heavy. So I just ripped it and then moved over just a wee bit. So, but it's only it's only 7 seams. It's not so bad to have to
Oh,
sew
the
these
embroidery
together.
takes a long time till it's done. The
Yep,
sewing together
45
goes
minutes.
faster. Yeah.
45 minutes every night.
Okay, fine.
On
Can I
top
go back?
of, we have another Zoom that we're gonna do. Let me grab my sample, and I love to stitch things that take hours. No, it's the black. This, I put it here going, oh, this will be a nice place to display it. We may never see it again. All right, I'm sorry. We seem to have misplaced it in the store, but I'm going to share my screen. I want to show you for real. Let's see here. I think I put it on the Facebook. It's behind my computer. That would have been really funny. Here it is. This guy.
Oh, wow.
So this is actually digitized. And there's a lady, her name is Valentina Bukiva. And she does this fancy quilted vinyl and leather and things like that. And she makes these amazing bags. So if we go here, where was it? Oh, well, that's a good place for it. All right, so if we go to Valentina, she makes an item on the promotional video. Here it is. It's this backpack is all quilted, and that black little clam up bag is my very humble attempt at making this. Look at that stitching.
Здравствуйте, я Валентина Букеева.
Hi, I'm Valentina Bukuyeva, founder of an online school for modern sewing and quilting. When I made my first quilt 10 years ago, I never thought that my hobby would turn into a school with students from all over the world. Today, I specialize in fashion accessories. My bags have even been shown at fashion shows and in magazines. At first, I had doubts about whether my sewing was good enough, but then I refined it to free arm and out of the way. My Bernina recognizes the embroidery hoop when I am planning
I'm
a
just trying to find. Here we go.
It is very important that the stitches are even. This requires control of the fabric movement. It's much easier with a Bernina. With the stitch regulator, you will master.
Well, anyway, I was inspired by her work. It's amazing. And you can follow her. She's Quilting Love on Instagram. And she also has a YouTube channel. Can't understand anything she's saying, but I just watch what she's creating. So this was digitized. And this is it's a simple bag. It's by Annie's. And the squishy stuff that's in here is soft and stable. And that helps it get some squish. And then this is actually vinyl from our distributor. And yeah, so it didn't take very long. And the entire bag is actually embroidered in the hoop, the entire pattern piece. And then you're just adding a zipper and little tabs. So this will be our next Zoom.
Cool.
And then eventually, I think in the store, we might have a hands-on for taking your favorite bag and adding something like this to it. But I got to find the right bag. So I'm going to be making a lot of things that look like this in the meantime. So in the meantime, the only thing that could make something fancier is you could take your photo stitch piece and make a bag. Mind blown. All right, we're going to sign off. The last session will be a sewing session. So I'll have a sewing machine set up with me. All right, make something awesome. Thank you all.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
You too. Thank you.